Adequate funding for education, accessible health care.
Very few social services.
Released from prison.
There's been a backlash against the poor.
Hurricane Katrina.
Underclass, the permanent underclass.
37 million people living in poverty.
A place not meant for human habitation.
Of both structural causes and
Cars, sidewalks, or abandoned buildings.
We house hundreds of men every night. In fact,
really can't blame them because they didn't know. It was just like you got in your car to go to work in the morning and you didn't know that you was gonna hit that other car. I didn't know nothing about heroin, and I'm 44 years old. Chicago is number 3 city of drug overdoses. You do a couple months or a year in jail, come out, the voice is called.
So they moved us to another place where it was 51, 52.
This ain't easy, though. You want to see what really makes people crazy, homeless? I'm going to show you how easy it is to get it. What? Crack cocaine. You ain't ready to let me know, because I'm going to show you how easy it is to get. And show you what it looks like.
Because I don't understand their politics, and I don't agree with their priorities.
Unfortunately, the cuts that are made,
And without medical insurance, you cannot detox.
ability to influence political discourse in this
In other words, we don't have a Betty Ford Center in our communities.
I consider that terrible.
Dollars Halliburton making, and they call these subsidies. We bailed out United Airlines.
Sentencing guidelines for people who use powdered cocaine.
I don't think we've ever been real clear on what we're hoping to accomplish with incarceration. And one thing we clearly are not accomplishing is this idea of rehabilitation.
It has often been called the Second City, referring to the second city that emerged from the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, leaving 90,000 individuals homeless. In present day, this same city has over 100,000 people who are stranded, homeless. Chicago's South Side makes up 60% of the city. The poverty rate is 40%. My name is Brian Schodorf. I am the director of the documentary you're watching. Through this film, I hope that you will obtain a better understanding of why and how individuals in this society are forced to live by these deprived conditions, clinging to an invisible support system. What you are about to see is through my vision, this reality captured on a camera lens and spoken through the lives and hearts of the people who struggle. This is a one-on-one look on poverty in Chicago.
My name's Alonzo Wade.
My name is Willie J. Wilson.
Alan Gatlin. My name is just Frank Sylvester.
Diverse city, but segregated. You know, you got north side, mostly white, south side and west side, mostly black, northwest and southwest, mostly Hispanic. It's downtown South Loop of Chicago. There's a lot of colleges in this area. You've got Columbia College, which is right there. Roosevelt is further down the street, and there's also Robert Morris, Harold Washington College, some of the DePaul. So there's a lot of college students, there's a lot of hotels with all these men begging over there because there is a mission right down the street where they all come out of every morning and they just flood the city into and start begging. The homeless people, that's where people can go at night and sleep. It's also where they take a lot of parolees, ex-cons that just got out, who don't have any place to go.
The definition sort of depends on the research. For my purposes, I define homelessness as a condition in which people live in shelters that are designed for the homeless or in any unconventional living situation. In other words, living in places that are not intended as dwellings.
As we know today that there are almost 37 million people living in poverty, and of that 37 million, 13 million are children.
Divorce has a huge impact on families. It often leaves women homeless, women and young children. Homelessness shouldn't just be seen as something where people sleep in the gutter, but also as you're technically homeless if you don't have a permanent residence at which you pay a mortgage or rent.
A lot of what you're seeing there is the result of cut block welfare. The welfare in this country was pretty lucrative for a long time. It was real easy to get on welfare, and a lot of people drew welfare, and welfare produced a lot of prisoners.
It's not just an economic issue. It's also an issue of lack of health care, inadequate education, lack of affordable housing, poor nutrition, high mortality rates.
Chronic homelessness characterized by what would be downtown Chicago, street people, beggars, people asking for money, people speaking to themselves, carrying multiple bags. They have no way to get, medical care, way to get hot food throughout the day, jobs, those kinds of things. They may have mental health issues. They maybe have substance abuse issues.
We out here, we drink every now and then. Every now and then mean in English, it means every day.
Cold out here.
And when it get cold out here, like if it's cold now, you gotta have some kind of they call it in cars antifreeze. See, you call it antifreeze. Okay, so we use that as antifreeze to keep us warm because we cannot get back into the shelter until a certain time.
2 divorces, losing my kid, everything, it all caught up to me.
My name is Mike. Mike? Yeah. Where do you stay? If you don't stay at the mission. Brother, I stay.
In the alleys,
right?
You go to the alley, you see people sleeping there. Have you ever been to the alley?
Electrical accident. Lost my leg and my arm. Cleaned off my mom's gutters and accidentally slipped. And I grabbed a hot wire to keep from falling while my foot was on the ladder, and it just went in one arm and came out my leg. I've been trying to get Section 8 for 14 years. I ain't got Section 8 yet.
What's Section 8?
Section 8 is where you can get well, a lot of people pay $52, $60-something for low income. I haven't made that list yet. And if I made the list, they ain't said and told me nothing about it.
Terry Fields. I'm from 111th and Pulaski. Good. See, I drink a lot of this crap.
Yeah?
I'm an epileptic too, all right? And they take medicine.
Epileptic.
Yeah.
What is that?
Seizures.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you develop that?
And smoke crack.
You developed epilepsy from smoking crack?
Smoking crack. Didn't touch nothing until, I don't know, about 8 years ago. My last wife, her and I started snorting. And it just got out of hand.
Snorting cocaine?
Yeah. Then I just, I got divorced and I just went nuts and next thing you know, started smoking cocaine.
1987, day before Easter.
What happened with the accident?
I was riding my motorcycle on the outer drive right over here, racing, doing 105 miles an hour, fell over the bridge right off McCormick Place. Been in the hospital 4.5 months, Macarise. 2-year therapy.
What injuries did you have?
False hip, false knee, crushed the knee, crushed my right arm, 2 broken ribs. I died twice, 3 weeks in the coma.
What do you mean you
52
died
pints of blood. I go on and on with that. Yes, I died in the hospital twice, yes. My mother just recently died. My wife just recently died. Got killed in a car accident. That's why I'm here also, because she's dead too also. Depressed, all that. That was my heart. I just couldn't take it no more. So I went back, still stayed on drugs and went out up here.
I was in the service and I got hurt and I couldn't get a job because I was handicapped. I was only getting SSI, which is $500-something a month. And it's not conducive to getting an apartment because the rent is so high here in the city. See that gentleman across the street with their cup? I'm the creator of that. I made a very pretty penny doing it because I'm handicapped. I used to take my leg off just to survive for a minute until I got my money coming. And people will help me.
You used to take your leg off to make people feel sorry for you?
No, not to feel sorry for them, to let them know that I couldn't work at the time because I was handicapped. Okay, and I made a living. Now everyone, everybody done trying to do that, but they're not in the condition I was in. They're able-bodied. I wasn't able-bodied. There's a difference.
We hustlers on things. He a hustler on wheels, and I'm a hustler on 2 feet. 1 foot actually. Go up to your leg. Go up. A lot of these guys, man, they got 2 arms, 2 legs. They can go find them a job. It's the people that I know that I would help, and I help people myself. I put money in people's cup because I know they ain't able to do a lot of things. But I don't know if other people think like that. I think they more or less say, oh my God, he got a cup. So we getting ready to die because he getting ready to ask us for some money. Most of them probably get into the drugs or a lot of domestic, going to the penitentiary, getting out. First thing they do is put them in a Pacific Guard mission. They ain't got no address to go to or none. So they send them down there, which make 3 o'clock in the morning, you wonder how come everybody walking around with backpacks all day and sleeping somewhere because they tired. And I don't know, it's just, you can't go back home on a domestic.
We were talking about the mission.
Okay, the mission.
You stay at the mission?
Not anymore, I hate it.
Why?
But I used to.
Why do you hate it? It's a good place.
No, it's good to you, but you gotta live there before you know what's good. If you don't live there, you don't know.
I guess that's true.
You got to go to hell before you can know what it feels like to be in hell.
Everyone talks about the shelters and everything. To really get an understanding of why some men do not live in the shelter, you have to go there and stay there a couple of nights and experience yourself.
Yeah, just like, what's his name? What's my man's name?
I know you're talking about the newsman. What's his name? Walter Jacobson.
Walter. Yeah,
Walter Jacobson?
Walter Jacobson is my heart. That's my heart, baby. He came down here dressed like a bum. And he came out like a Chinese rope. They said, you look like Walter Jacobson. He said, no. He said, I don't know who this man is. And Walter came down. And Walter talked about the conditions that existed. That's what was so beautiful about him. He said, no. He said, immediately when I walked in, the first thing that got me, sees me, took me in the back when he said, well, I lost my job, X, Y, Z, and ABC, and they moved out of state. He said, oh, no, that's not your reason for being homeless. You was a sinner, admit it. You was a dope fiend, a dope addict. You was a this. Walter said, no, sir, boy, and Walter really wrote him up very nice.
Have 1,000 men or more sometime at night. Sometimes it's county jail type action. They want to fight, rub up, be tough, and all this stuff. And I would suggest you go there one night. Just come in there as a new guest, and just see how things go. And then you would understand why many guys would not want to stay there.
Well, our central purpose is to preach the gospel of Christ, which we've done now for just slightly over 128 years. In fact, as the missions chaplain, I also am a convert of the mission. We are not a social organization, but we are fishers of men, and any fisher has to have bait. So the social services that we provide is literally bait for the people coming in.
Now, this is our clinic area that we're getting ready to walk through right now. Yes, and we provide free dental, medical services for all of the guys here at Pacific Eye Mission. Because of the cold weather, these guys coming up from the second floor. The second floor consists of that area is used for the overflow. And these guys are they've been sitting in the second floor watching TV. That's like a recreation room. Okay, now they're coming down here to the auditorium, and they're gonna sit in the auditorium for maybe probably about an hour or so, just to keep warm.
We house hundreds of men every night. In fact, I'm certain that there's nights when we're probably over capacity, but hundreds and hundreds of men.
Does it get pretty packed in here?
It stays packed. It stays packed. We have plenty of overflow. You know, it's cold, and people want to come out the cold.
My name is Alfred Jackson. I am the third floor dorm IC. I'm basically in charge of running this floor, making sure the overnight guests get in here, they get bathed, they get put in bed. I make sure they get read the word, they get prayed for. After that, I make sure this dorm is clean and set up for these guys to come back again the next day.
There's a general idea in the U.S., I think, certainly in the Midwest, that homeless are a special class of people, that they stand for a lot of different things to many people, so that when most people say homeless, they're thinking of people who are crazy, they think of Vietnam War vets, they think of drug users, alcohol abusers.
Individuals panhandling in downtown Chicago is often seen as a major nuisance for many Chicago residents and visitors. Some of these panhandlers are residents of the Pacific Garden Mission. The majority, however, are men and women from all parts of Chicago. The economic conditions are one in which jobs do not exist, schools are underfunded and understaffed, all in the presence of a ravishing crack cocaine and heroin epidemic. The largest concentration of poverty is in public housing. The project houses grow intimidating and imposing in scale as you approach. What went wrong with the low-income areas? How did a well-intentioned effort to house low-income families produce the bleak prison-like, demeaning warehouses for only the poorest Chicagoans?
Seems like everybody deserted the West Side years ago. It's the reason there's so many vacant lots around here. That's about it. There is out here. I mean, you've got liquor stores every other corner. You've got a church every other corner. And you got a gas station every other corner. There's a large homeless situation because there's no jobs here. Drug trade over here is very large. You have people coming from all around Chicago to come to the West Side to cop their dope. When I say dope, I mean heroin. Crack is rock. Crack is cocaine. You can walk up on almost any corner out here and ask somebody where they can find whatever you're looking for. Somebody's gonna put you in the right direction. And I guarantee you're not gonna have to walk more than 2 or 3 blocks from where you're standing. It's anywhere here on the West Side.
One of the problems we face right here is that a lot of drugs sales are going on here because, as you can see, there's a dead end with that park in the street, so you have people who can jump off the train here, come off the highway and come in either one of these streets, just pick up and then leave. Then we've had police actually stop people. They call the jump out boys. They come in a van, they jump out, and baby, you have not seen anybody run like a dope dealer. Brother, they can sprint. I've seen the jump out boys. This house was a crack house.
Many people are homeless because they don't have living wage jobs. Chicago was a heavy industry city. People worked for the steel mills. You didn't have to have a big education. You could make a livable wage by working at a steel mill, a stockyard, working for the transit company, working for a variety of industries now that no longer have a place in Chicago. And so what happens is there's been a huge loss of jobs. Most of the people who are on the street are probably not skilled or even if they are skilled, don't have an education. Many of the people on the street are recently been released from prison. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a felony, obviously you cannot work in many of the industries in the city of Chicago.
A lot of drug abusers, everything's over here.
So you have a lot of homeless, there's a lot of poverty.
A lot of poverty, a lot of homeless.
No jobs?
No jobs. None of these teens over here, they barely, you see a few come down here to have jobs.
Keeping a fair number of people unemployed means that you can keep wages suppressed.
When you talk about areas that are blighted, areas that suffer from what's known as hypersegregation, and these areas are so economically depressed that there are no jobs. You know, young people who grow up in these areas, you know, they have limited access to good schools, to, you know, decent materials, good teachers. Sometimes there's one parent. Sometimes there's cohabitation. You know, there's a lot of poverty. In an area with no jobs, you're going to have a certain number of young people who turn to gangs, who turn to drugs, you know.
I think the only thing that saves a lot of these young ladies would be McDonald's. McDonald's, Subway, a few jobs, but basically over here there's nothing. There's no Jewel. In the immediate area there's a Dominic. Seeing some kind of future on the job, dead end. Nothing. Dead end.
If you work minimum wage, if you work at Starbucks or McDonald's or any other kind of place, you have to work 120 hours every week in order to afford a one-bedroom apartment. So many people cannot work 120 hours to afford a one-bedroom apartment because, and that's based on 30% of their income at the minimum wage. It's 152 units. As you can see, if you take a good look at it, if you were staying in, say, at the Hyatt or something like that, you've got kind of the calm colors. It's clean, it's nice. And so people who've been living on the streets can rent an apartment here and pay as little as $25 a month for rent.
Okay, that's federal subsidized.
That's federally
housing.
Subsidized Section 8 housing.
Concentrating poverty in particular neighborhoods may be economically efficient, but it's also potentially dangerous. You're concentrating people who have a lack of resources or lack of access to resources, right? So it makes it a very concentrated, convenient market for drug dealers and gangs to sort of go in and do their business there.
Harold Icky Projects is where I'm living right now.
Chicago designed many of the housing projects to house people who had come south after World War II. There's a whole group of African Americans who began to board trains from the south looking for the heavy industry jobs that were in the north. The problem was it became, as any ghetto or slum is, overpopulated. Then you invite all sorts of other kinds of things happening.
They not that bad down here.
Because you know most of America would be scared to come down here.
Why? Because it's the projects and you got a lot of black people out here?
I think so. I think you might have summed it up.
Are you scared?
The first thing that really strikes me is how big they are. How many kids do you have? Two. What's it like them growing up over here, raising them?
It's difficult because you don't want them to turn out like all the other kids who came up down here. You know, they come up seeing the guys selling the drugs and making money, and they very rarely get a chance to get outside.
Basically, they need a lot of jobs over here. Especially for damn near everybody in here got a case. Had a case at one time.
What do you mean a case?
They got at least probation, which is a conviction on your record.
So you can't get a
that's gonna hinder
job.
you from getting a decent job anyway.
There was this boy, he couldn't have been more than 16, 17 years old. He said, well, I'm trying to get $10 to go get me some heroin. You see a lot of homeless people? Yeah. People sleeping out here?
In the hallways.
A lot of people sleep in the hallways?
It's the government, man. This didn't just happen. This been going on a long time, man. Since J. Edgar Hoover. Maybe you don't understand this, but a black person knows the system is designed for us to fail anyway.
Aren't these guys supposed to be in school?
Yeah, they're supposed to be in school. Who's gonna make them go? What's the incentive to make them want to go?
Why don't they want to go to school? Because they don't see any opportunity?
No. What fuck? It's a waste of time. That's what they think. Most of them do.
What's this guy doing right here?
He unemployed, need a job. Probably ex-addict or something. Need a job. Need to go to work. No, thank you very much. He hustling.
He's hustling?
Yeah, he's hustling.
He looks like he might have some problems.
Right, mental health problems.
That's the worst gang right there, Chicago, right there. That's who you should be interviewing right there.
Go to the projects right now, it look like downtown, going to Walgreens, getting your drugs. Police be sitting right there on the spot.
And sometimes he doesn't do anything?
A lot of times they don't do nothing, except for last week. Last week they went and took everybody to jail. I'm talking about they let them do it, but they let them do it for a reason. When they come with that list, and your name on that list, you gone. You ever heard of Eye in the Sky? You never heard of Eye in the Sky? It's a police camera on a light pole that blink all night like a police car. It's dressed up like a police, same color. With a flashing light on the top that flash blue. Box about this big, about that wide. And it's got all day, all night long.
So there's a camera that watches.
They don't care. They just gonna do it anyway. If I go down there, I go get drugs all day long if I want to.
Drug plays a major role in dehumanizing people, and what it does is it narcotizes people and lulls them into a false sleep. And so you don't want people who are using drugs aren't really interested in organizing politically to answer solutions. They're doing drugs.
Cocaine is the main problem I got. Drugs, period, will f my life up.
Is that present today?
Present, past, and the future. I'm telling you, drugs, you don't know what drugs do to people.
Is it ever a situation where it's not the drugs?
No, it's always the drug. If you got money, you're going to spend some money on some drugs. And get what? You ain't got to spend no money on drugs. You can also get it on credit. Because get what? The credit man be there for your check day. Look around, you see all these people out here.
Look and see.
That's what drugs do to them. Look
and see.
They have you sleeping on the ground. And you got an opportunity to sleep on the ground. You definitely. Ooh, you know, one bag of your life up.
Yep. Have you ever tried any kind of counseling, anything like that?
Oh man, I've been through every rehabilitation in the city. Yes, I have. I've been through it. Guess what? 28 days ain't nothing for me. I need a 9-month program.
Well, crack cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, anything that you could smoke or shoot up, it typically has an extremely addictive quality. And for the most part, the quicker that it can be, that you can get it into your system, the more addictive that drug or substance is. So crack cocaine, you smoke that. I mean, that is such a huge high that oftentimes people will come into our program and they'll say, I was out for 5 days in a row and I spent my entire paycheck and I had to steal, and it wasn't until I ran out of completely all my funds that I came down. And then of course when they come down, they're really, really low.
Heroin make you sick. Heroin make you steal, stick up. Heroin make you steal when you get sick. Yeah, they got to have it.
Man, that crack cocaine is the worst thing a black man ever touched.
He gave you sense to think.
Okay?
Man,
all you gotta do with your own mouth and your own mind,
and
your
get
own
you
heart,
down
is to
bad.
say no.
Go down.
It's not the government. You can't blame nobody
That's
but
the same
yourself.
thing. That's the same thing the
Nobody
government
but
said.
yourself.
Say no, it don't work.
Receiving drug treatment is becoming increasingly more difficult for addicts. Without proper medical insurance, nearly impossible. The last option is mobile stations that circulate the city, though these stations struggle to meet the need for individuals requiring treatment.
There's been a backlash against the poor, and this has been documented by sociologists. We've looked at the poor, and the term is the underclass, the permanent underclass. It's a term coined, I think, in the late 70s by Oscar Lewis, and it referred to the group of people, largely in urban areas, who are permanently unemployed, as it's been termed. Generational poverty, high dropout rates, high out-of-wedlock births, and antisocial behavior, meaning crime. So these things characterize this underclass, and as some sociologists have seen it, the underclass is largely black.
You know, we don't know what that person's gone through. We don't know what that person suffers from psychologically, but it's really easy to look at them and say, oh, alcoholic, drug abuser, and just ignore them, because it makes it easy for us to ignore them if we're able to sort of throw onto them that they're there for their own fault.
Well, they kept me there for about a couple of days. They placed me on heart monitors and everything.
Okay.
And
So did you think you were having a heart attack?
yeah, I definitely thought it was a heart attack. But the final analysis was that something was wrong with one of my valves in my left ventricular valve.
Anterior valve.
Yeah.
This is a real common thing that all societies do. You've always got to mark somebody as the outsider, the marginalized, someone who's not you. And you define them only in terms of the ways in which they're not you.
The problem is that in the absence of any real comprehensive understanding of the various kinds of homelessness, what tend to take over are frames, particular stories being cast in particular ways.
The example of what we don't want to be. The example of what could happen to us if we don't do the right thing.
You know, why would you look at somebody laying on the ground, having some problems or complications with their body or whatever, and just walk right by them? People do that. It don't make sense, but they do it. I didn't grow up like that. Oh, I was about 3 or 4 hours.
You were stumbling around, about to have a heart attack in 3 or 4 hours.
3 or 4 hours.
You're from Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
You're in New Orleans.
Yeah, you remember.
You got a couple sisters down there?
Yeah, I got 3 sisters. I said, you remember me?
I remember you.
You know what?
Alan Gatlin.
Right. Can I didn't know what you just told me my name, where I'm from, and everything. And that shocked me. No. You the first one.
I'm the first person.
The first person.
Yeah, we have taught ourselves basically to ignore the homeless. And I think that's, frankly, a relatively recent phenomenon. I think homelessness in the past 20 years, urban homelessness has really grown, and our ability to ignore it has really evolved.
Well, right now, I'm going to get on this bus and I'm going to go get myself checked out again. And hopefully I'll be able to see another day and see you again, Brian. Drugs just make you want it and want it and want it and want it. It's like it ain't no end. Pretty soon, I ain't gonna tell you, I'm gonna show you. you're gonna see it live. Like I said, you're gonna see it from a distance, or you're gonna see it live.
What's going on out here?
People coming from getting dope or a rock, people going to get dope or a rock. All these people basically just walking. That's what it is. Still amazes me that people come from the north side, the west side, and the south side, straight to the Dearborns or straight to the Ickies to get their stuff. Because from what I hear, they got the best stuff. But people come from everywhere just to get over here. Right here, real heavy. Real heavy. All right, see all this shit? That's all dope dealers, gangbangers, heroin, and everything. Security and dope dealers, every last one of them, all down here. This where you get found dead and stinking in the closet in a vacant apartment, man.
On January 25th, 12 heroin overdose deaths were reported around the areas of 27th and State, otherwise known as the Dearborn Homes.
That heroin, that, if I recall, was mixed with a very, very, very powerful opiate called fentanyl, which we do a detox program from opiates. And fentanyl is like a lot more powerful than heroin. So what happened was they didn't realize how powerful that medication was, and they killed them.
Heroin overdose deaths often act as advertisements for drug dealers, for those addicts yearning for that ultimate high.
But anytime somebody doing that heroin and they name it, and the name of this heroin is Drop Dead. Now, why would you go get something, man, with a name like that, and they study Drop Dead?
I learned firsthand how accessible these drugs are for as little as $10.
I'm gonna show you how easy it is to get, and show you what it look like for the money that they spend on it.
All right.
We're all shaped as a culture by the media and the portrayal of individuals in the media. And I think that it's an inculcation of negative stereotypes that have been perpetrated over and over and over the years.
How many people died?
You know, the official press is 12, but that's nonsense. Because again, 1 and 2 a day. So you're talking about 2 weeks. Somewhere around 14 to 21 die.
How many names are mentioned in the article?
2. They mentioned 2 young white men from Galena in their early 20s.
On January 25th, Justin Jogman and Josh Surplus drove 160 miles from the small western Illinois tourist town of Galena, Illinois, to obtain heroin from the Dearborn Project House. Areas like this act as suppliers of heroin and crack cocaine for much of Illinois. The young men shot up heroin on their way out of town. They were found dead on the Eisenhower Expressway, one with a needle stuck in his arm. The Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Tribune reported 12 heroin overdose deaths. Only the names of Justin Jogman and Josh Surplus were mentioned in the press. The local and national media did not feel it was necessary to release all the names of the victims. In a neighborhood populated by 90% African American, why did they not deserve to be known?
If you took any 2-week period throughout the year, there were probably pretty close to the same number of deaths.
And none of them were reported?
Almost none are reported.
It's the white kids from the suburbs who die on the expressway, which is an unusual thing. We're not expecting to see this, so that's the one that gets the media coverage. It's the exceptions that get the coverage, not unfortunately the rule.
And that we're willing to sacrifice people's lives for a model or some kind of so-called moral. I say the only true moral is one which respects and assists life.
This is what you call crack cocaine. Because there's people downtown that do this today. Scared to come down here. I can go get it for them and make $40, $50 off of one little old bag. But I elect not to.
What kind of people?
All kind. Black, white, yellow, Mexican, brown. Ooh,
Middle
man.
class?
All kind. All kind. People. Just people. You'd be amazed. You'd be surprised.
How old are you?
I'll be 50 April 2nd. I've been out here 25. It scares you even think about like that.
How long have you been out here?
I've been on and off for about a year.
Homeless? I've been homeless for about 6 months.
I was trying to get a teaching degree in history, and I screwed that up like I screwed my whole life up.
Life is hard. We know that. You know, problems.
You know, see, the funny thing about it is,
but it's important how we deal with the problem.
I was fine up to 10 years ago when I divorced my second wife.
I just don't want people to just downcast me like, oh, I'm just a nobody. Because I am somebody.
Climbed the pole to get some copper wire off of it. And when I got up there, I heard electricity going through the wire.
But every time I turn around and take one step forward, I get hit in the head and knock 2 steps back. So now I'm trying to walk forward again.
Collecting stuff from garbage, it's a hard thing, you know. You can find a TV or you can find a VCR, you know.
When I slipped, first thing I did was grab the wire. That's the only thing I could grab.
Just because a person's on the streets, it doesn't mean that they're crazy. It doesn't mean that they're... One of my parents come from California, Compton, California. My dad come from, what is that, Liverpool, Mississippi. I don't know how they met, that's crazy to me. But they finally hooked up and produced 7 kids.
Like this here. Lord, somebody, here I come.